Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on the Cranky Frankly channel. This video is about idols, and I really hope you guys enjoy it. If you do, please like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which part you enjoyed the most and how we can improve. With that, let's get into the main video. Have fun.
All right, guys, and thanks a lot for the response on the previous podcast as well. We really appreciate you guys liking the videos and watching it over and over again. Please make sure to subscribe to our channel as well. We need to compete with other podcasters as well. Let's get Cranky Fracky to number one, guys. Please subscribe to our channel and let's actually get into today's podcast. Right, we're going to be talking about idols. And we actually have a special guest with us today for the first
Whoa, whoa,
time on
whoa,
the
whoa,
podcast.
whoa,
Please
whoa,
welcome
whoa, whoa,
Aniket.
whoa. Hold up. Guest.
It's your first time. It's your first
I'm a
time, bro.
guest
It's been
now.
8 years.
Wow, I'm a guest. Okay, well, I'm gonna make this the last episode of the Cranky Frankly channel if you call me a guest, boy. But no, no, no.
Okay, no need. Cut the drama, guys. Cut the drama. Let's get into it.
Yeah. I've been away. Uh, yeah, I've been away for a while. I had exams, so that's my excuse. But yeah, I've been gone for
Nice.
about a month, and in that time, you've made two videos, Ishan, and I want to congratulate you. Both were fantastic videos. If any of you haven't checked them out, go to our channel right now and check them out. I think it's episode 4 and 5 with Rananji about the
Yep.
IPL and about student entrepreneurship with Smith. Fantastic videos. In fact, the video with Smith might be our best performing video so far. Great response on the video. One dislike though, so we're catching you, man. Don't you dare dislike our videos, all right? We got links everywhere, but you know what I mean. Really good video. Really good videos, really good work, and kind of made me feel terrible about myself that you could make such good videos without me. I'm kidding, I'm
It's
kidding.
fine. It's fine. Today,
But
today
no,
we're gonna
uh,
prove you wrong,
like
and
like
we'll.
for Aniket's side, one like equal one prayer.
Okay, okay. Moving on. Let's actually get into idols, right? So,
Yes,
first
sir.
thing, everyone listening to this, very quickly, comment down who's your idol. Very simple
Yes, sir.
question. Who is your idol and who do you follow? Who do you think is admirable in that sense? And let us know in the comments. And Aniket, what about you? What does an idol mean in your dictionary?
All right, that's a big question. I'm gonna pretend I understand the question. An idol to me, uh, well, I think it's just somebody that you end up aspiring to be like, right? Like we all, as people, we want to become something, right? We all have plans on what to become and what not to become, and I feel like idol helps you make that plan about the journey or the road you want to take. You're able to kind of mold your life to somebody who's already lived that life that you want. If you're a footballer, you want to become like Ronaldo because that's the kind of life you want to lead. If you're an entrepreneur, you want to become like Steve Jobs, perhaps, because that's the kind of life you want to lead. So that's what I think an idol is: somebody who you try to base your life on, in a sort of way, not like Stan from Eminem, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
What about you, Ishan? What's an idol for you?
That's again, it's quite difficult to pin it down in a few words, but for me, an idol is someone, who's like a role model or someone who I can look up to and
Mm.
follow their footsteps in life. And again, it's not like I'm copying them or something. It's just I'm getting inspired by their approaches to things or the ways that they've used to get to the top. Or even if they're not that successful, I wouldn't say that all of my idols throughout my lifetime have been, people who are financially successful or, have done
Oh,
something incredible in life.
that's
That's actually quite
interesting.
interesting. We'll get into that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that's quite interesting. But saying all of that, now that we kind of know what an idol is to both of us, what do you think we need in an idol, or what do you think? Yeah, what do you think we need in an idol as people? What do we need in these people that we kind of look up to?
Yep. For me, I think, to be honest, for me, anybody is can be an idol or whatever. I don't think there's like a specific cut you need to make. Like you need to earn $700,000. You need to have a net worth of 5 million to be an idol. There's nothing like that for me, at least. I
Though it
think an
seems like
idol
that.
Yeah, of course. For me, an idol is someone who's who's like probably self-confident about the things
Hmm.
that they've achieved in life, and
Hmm.
they're like happy in their retrospect with the things that they've achieved in life. If you talk about Steve Jobs, for example, more than
Uh-huh.
just being a billionaire or being rich and all, he's like made a change in the world. He's made a change in the way that people look at technology, and for me that's the more admirable bit than how rich he is, something like that. What about you?
Oh, that's interesting. I was actually gonna go on to that. So does an idol have to be a big proponent of change in your life or in everybody's life? Like there are tons of people who are really successful out there, right? But not all of them might be an idol
Exactly.
to you. So like for me, I think one of the things I need in an idol is a sense of familiarity. You know what I mean? Like maybe they have a similar background
Yeah,
to me or a similar interest to me or something like that. Other than that, yeah, they don't have to be above a money threshold, as you said. Your parents can be your idol as much as, I don't know, Jeff Bezos can, right? Anybody can be your idol,
yeah,
technically. It's how you look at it. But I think definitely, as you said, self confident, and the person definitely needs to be motivated and driven in their own way. Because,
yeah,
at the end, what's an idol? Idol is someone who motivates you, right?
yeah.
I mean, would you say they are necessary to motivate you and live your best life? An idol?
mm, See, again, with idols, for me at least, i don't I don't necessarily look up to an idol and get motivated because they've achieved so and so in life. My
Mm-hmm.
take on idols is something, let's say probably Cristiano Ronaldo is my idol for
All
being a
right.
good footballer, just an example.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not like if I look up to Ronaldo, I'm going to be motivated and play as good as him. That's pretty impossible. But
Uh-huh.
for me, again, I understand where motivation plays a role. Definitely plays a role. But for me, I think having that idol is almost like you're setting a goal for yourself, or you're setting like an
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
image
yeah.
that you want to achieve by having that idol. So if you look up to Ronaldo, you probably may copy his style or whatever. I know a few Ronaldo fans just copy celebration here and there. It's quite funny to watch, but frankly speaking, that is exactly what you learn from your idol. There's a lot of learning as well that's involved from your idol, more than just motivation. For me, I think people, they're like mentored by these idols in the way that they want to perform in life, or the style that they have for achieving their goals. What do you
So,
think about motivation?
so I think
Yeah,
from that we can understand for you and people like you, it's like it helps with motivation, but it's not the only thing that motivates you, right? There are many other things that kind of fall
yeah,
into the category. For me, myself, I think I fall in a similar place to you, but I definitely know people, as you said, who do base themselves completely on the idol, and in certain places it does work. I know a couple
yeah.
of guys who are really driven because of their idol. Ronaldo is probably the most popular between boys of kind of our age, actually a bit younger than us. They kind of look at what he does and they try and follow with that. And it means a lot of people, they go to the gym or they work on their art, whether that's football or whatever, and they become really good at it because they want to become like that. So it varies from person to person, I think, right?
Absolutely.
And as you said, and I think one thing that must be made very clear, especially in this age where like everybody everybody acts like they can do everything. Like a podcaster might say he's an actor and a presenter at the same time, right?
Like us.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Like I
Yeah.
didn't get a professional qualification of podcasting, guys. I'll be 100% sure about that. But that actually takes me on to the next thing which I wanted to say, which is influencers and idols. You know what I mean? Social media influencers. Now they go about
Mhm.
acting like they're idols or acting like everybody idolizes them. Do we consider them idols just automatically because they have a few followers on this and that?
I mean, this is quite a debatable topic, but one thing that I want to make very clear is, again, there's a ton of influencers in the world, right? And all of them have
So
their
many.
different approaches. Yeah. So my point basically is the way that the influencer talk, or their body language especially, will play a huge role, because sometimes you have so people on social media who are just dissing each other off. They're just being disrespectful. They're sort of
Yeah,
setting
yeah.
a negativity
Yeah.
on the platform that they're using. And I don't think that is particularly a good idea because they're not spreading the right message. They're trying to like promote disrespecting others,
Yeah,
which
guys, be nice to
again,
us, okay? Don't dislike our videos. Sorry, I'm
again,
really
I
sad about that.
it's fine, it's fine. Again, I understand why anybody would like do a diss on someone else because that's what the media wants, right? That's what everyone wants to see, other people getting annihilated from these diss tracks or whatever. But from like an
Uh,
idol perspective, I would say I would say influencers can play a huge role because even if you're talking about social media for now, social media didn't exist 10 years ago, right? We didn't have anything on
mhm.
social media. And suddenly you've seen people with millions of followers. Everyone can connect with each other online. It's even if they're living in a different country, right? I'm sure all of the YouTubers that you guys would be watching would probably be, from around the world. It wouldn't be from just India or just, South Africa, for example. There'll be a wide variety of influencers. And yep, I think that's a benefit for having like and social media influencer as your idol. But again, there's like a line where you need to, if you cross the line of going negative or doing something that's not ethical in that sense, then I don't think that should be necessarily a good quality to be an idol. And what's your take on this, Aniket?
My issue becomes like I'm happy with people being idols to anyone because I know it helps a lot of people out. But when people actively take on the role of being idol as a job, like where you will have people who do nothing but try to act as an idol or try to be an idol, that's where there's an issue. You're not supposed to be an idol as a
Hmm.
job. You're supposed to do whatever you do, and then people idolize you for that. And a lot of social media followers, a lot of no, sorry, not followers, a lot of social media influencers, and also mostly the guys who work in the motivation field, like those guys who do the motivation speeches and all of that on various social medias.
Yeah.
Those guys really fall into this category where they kind of act like they are idols and that's all they are. And I feel that's an issue. If you're a social media influencer and you're listening to this podcast, I doubt it. But if you are, first of all, don't dislike. We love everybody. Please like. Second of all,
Oh God.
second of all, just remember that people appreciate you for your art and don't become what you essentially want to become. And I know that might be a hard concept and kind of sounds stupid at first, but if you want to be an idol to person, don't become an idol. That's going to be the thing that will make you stray furthest from it, in my opinion, at least. And one thing which I really want to cover, and it might be a bit disjointed from the main conversation, but I think it's quite important, is the whole concept of separate the art from the artists. And in this cancel culture generation, right, this becomes so, so, so important, where we find out that everybody that we loved was actually a terrible person in every single way. And we all find ourselves in this kind of weird place where we're like, oh, bro, my whole childhood I spent listening or watching this guy, and apparently he's a terrible person. So what am I going to do? Am I just not going to listen to him again? And I wanted to get first your opinions on what do you think about the term separate the art from the artist, and does it make you a bad person if you follow that rule and if you still listen to like songs from someone who's a terrible person or something like that?
For sure. For me, at least, I'd say that the art is definitely more significant than what the artist may be. And I'm not saying that,
Ooh, yeah.
it's necessary all the time because you may have, someone who painted like a beautiful painting, it sold so well, and they're in prison right now because of some crime they committed. That's not what I'm trying to imply. What I'm saying is the personality of the artist or the idol in this sense would definitely play a role, but not as much as the actions that they're doing. I feel mostly people they get confused with ideas because they follow the person more than the actions of the person, and
Hmm.
that's like a huge difference for me at least. I normally follow things because of their actions or their activities or their take on a certain topic rather than what the person is doing in their personal life. That doesn't really need to matter, right? If you're
Yeah,
following
yeah.
someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, you don't really need to care if he's paying his taxes. I mean, the government needs to care about it, but if you're idolizing him, I don't think that's one thing that you should look at him. Just look at what he's doing, right? The football that he plays, incredible football. I don't think even Messi fans, for that instance, wouldn't argue. I mean, there's some people who argue that Ronaldo can't play football, but I'll leave
Yes,
it
he
to all of
could.
you guys to think. What do you, yep, as Aniket mentioned,
Yeah.
I don't, again, it's not necessary that you need to follow the artist to love their art or something. For me, it's more about the aesthetic that they offer rather than
Yeah, for
the
sure.
personality themselves.
Like how you said, Ronaldo. Ronaldo's a great example. Let's take Steve Jobs as well. Steve Jobs, his personal life as
Sure.
an out and out human being, how he was in interactions with other people, he did definitely have his problems. You know, he wasn't the perfect human being there, and he did do a lot of stuff behind the back, which was like, should he be doing that? But as a person,
Yeah.
as Steve Jobs, not Steve Jobs the human, but Steve Jobs the personality, and Steve Jobs the would you call him an entrepreneur, right?
Yep, yep, of course.
So when you take Steve Jobs, the entrepreneur, right? You should follow that. You should follow the things he did over there because he did so many fantastic things that his personal life shouldn't taint that and shouldn't be like, oh, I can't idolize him now because he kicked a frog when he was 12 years old or whatever, right? Obviously, it's a bit worse for Steve Jobs, but you know what I mean. And I think it's really important for
Yeah.
guys who do have idols and have had idols all their life, who are now kind of questioning themselves, like, oh, should I still idolize this person if they've done this, that, and the other? Separate the art from the artist. It'll help you a lot.
Mm. Also, one thing I want to like sort of, come back to is what you mentioned about people, who are meant to motivate you guys or motivational speakers. I think that's what they call them. So
Hmm.
I recently, followed this guy called Jay Shetty. I'm sure a lot of you
Yeah,
guys would
yeah,
have
yeah.
heard
I
of
know
him.
who he is.
Like a really popular one.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think when even in his stories that he's mentioned, I don't think he actually started out as someone who would be motivating someone else, right? I don't think most people ever think of, that being their main profession. I think through his journey of he was a monk at one point of time, and when he was a monk he sort of realized what life actually is, and he made his own interpretation of a lot of things which you can check out on his channel if you want to. But what I'm trying to say is, in terms of idol, I do understand where he's crossing the line, where he's like he's supposed to do this. He's sort of like a guiding idol rather than someone who you just look up to. He's one of those people who will sort of guide you and who will sort of tell you what's right or wrong, or even if it's not explicitly, they'll just mention their experiences with things which you can maybe relate to, and then you can understand what you're doing is right or wrong. But
Yeah, I think that's
either way,
important.
let's move on.
Yeah,
Okay,
go
sure.
ahead. Oh, sorry, sorry. Yeah,
um
I was just
let
gonna say that with like what I'd said, that's not applicable for everybody. As it is with everything I say, it may sound like I'm generalizing, but I'm not trying to. I'm not saying every single motivational speaker, tries to be an idol.
Yeah.
There are definitely a lot of them that don't, but there are a group that do. So it's just, I'm just trying to clarify, and it's really important and good that Ishan brings
Sure.
that up so that everyone's aware of the fact that not everybody's like that. There are people who are different, there are people who are the same. So I'll hand it over to you, Ishan, then.
Yeah, so now you guys listening to this, you're probably wondering we're talking so much about idols and what idols are, but we haven't talked about our idols, right? So let's get into a good conversation about who we had idols as well growing up, and we're still growing up, right? We're just 17, so we still have a long journey ahead of us. But Aniket, talk me through the idols that you looked up to through your life so far.
My idols, right? So I didn't really ever have too many idols per se. I'm sure the same applied for you and a lot of people. But I definitely had people
Yeah,
who I looked up to in that sense. Maybe not model my life around them, but definitely look up to and take inspiration from. There would be guys like I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a F1 driver called Michael Schumacher.
yeah,
Do you
yeah,
know
of
who he is?
course, the
Yeah, yeah,
legend. Yeah,
yeah. He's a legend. He's a really well. Michael Schumacher is just one of those guys who is going to succeed in any field that he kind of applies himself in. Right. When did I first start watching F1? I think maybe around 8. I first started watching F1. And, like in every sport, the legends of the sport, there's this kind of mystery around them because they no longer drive or play, right? And you're like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
how did they used to be or how were they? So I did a lot of digging into this guy because in terms of F1, he's like some kind of god. Okay, like you know how Leo Messi and Ronaldo have like 6 or 7 Ballon d'Ors or whatever, right? And nobody has any others,
Yeah,
and it's like such a stark difference between them and any other player, right? That's how Schumacher was for the longest time before Lewis Hamilton came. Schumacher had like the most championships by far. He had 7, and the next highest was like 5, and that was from like 1960s. Sorry, 1950s. So you know how good this guy was. He had like 40 more wins than the second most person at one point of time. So he was this
damn,
god.
yeah,
Yeah. So this kind of excitement built over him. So as a young child, I used to like read a few. This might sound a bit sad, but F1 encyclopedias and look up a few videos just to understand, who is this guy? This is mystery. And when reading about him, I really ended up liking him because his personality and the way he carried himself was really, really interesting. This was a guy who was driven to the nth degree. Like he was so driven that I think he got banned from a championship once, and he almost won a championship once by doing all he could to win it. All right, this guy, he purposefully crashed twice, okay, twice into his championship contender just to make sure that he wins the championship. Like he would do anything to win. He would like prevent them qualifying well. In the race, he would like work out strategies and everything to stop his opponents. He was like the ultimate competitor. Do you understand? This guy on another level, and that really excited me to have that tenacity to compete no matter what. Like even when you won 6 world championships, 5 world championships, to still be motivated enough to go to the paddock and be like, bro, I'm gonna go out here. I'm still gonna beat all of you. I don't care whether I have 7. I don't care whether I have 10 championships. And at the end, he only left because there were some political problems, and technology was changing and the sport was changing. But that guy,
yeah.
his drive and his tenacity, just wow, so good. So that's the guy who I probably looked up as a young gun. Who
So
was it for
Michael,
you?
if you're watching this, Michael, if you're watching this video, you can see that Aniket's a big fan of you.
Yes, Michael, please collab, please, please.
Okay, okay, okay. Yep. For me, again, I'm still trying to ponder as to who was my idol growing up.
Uh huh.
I'm one of those guys who really didn't have an idol growing up because,
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'll be honest, I'll be straight up. I didn't know what I'm gonna do in life. I still don't know what I'm gonna do in life in the
yeah. I
next
think
one
this
year, in the
applies for
next
a lot
ten
of us.
years. Yep. And as a result, I want to, once I sort of, pick on an idol, I want them to, be a long term thing. So let's say I look at an entrepreneur who's maybe not successful. I want to understand why they may, not be successful in those sense, and in what sense are they successful? Because again, for me, there has to be some purpose. That's just my belief that there
Yeah,
has to be some purpose as to what you're doing and where are you standing right now. So there might be some reason why that person is not who they expected themselves to be. So for me, it's more about understanding why people have made certain choices in their lives and then look up to those people. But if you're asking me from like a person, I would probably say that maybe someone like Nelson Mandela was someone who
mm-hmm.
I idolized, and I know it's a bit of a philosophical answer in that sense, but again, I have my reasons, right? And I'm sure everyone can understand why someone like
Yeah,
Nelson
yeah,
Mandela was inspiring because he changed the way that people, the society looked at a certain group of people. And again, to have the power and just his approach to what he's done in his life was so breathtaking and so different from what other protesters or what other people did, that really like got me excited as to who this guy was as a person. And I'm sure everyone listening to this would have maybe looked up to Michael Schumacher, maybe looked up to Nelson Mandela, or maybe looked up to someone else. So let us know in the comments. We really want to like start a discussion there as well.
yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
yeah, and I think most of the youth, they also look up to sports players or social media influencers, a lot
Yeah,
of them,
yeah.
because I mean, I'll be honest, even Aniket, for you it may apply, but when I was like 7 or 8 years old, I thought I could represent, my country in football, for example.
Oh,
I
yeah, yeah,
thought
for sure.
whenever I played practice, I was like, oh, I'm so good. Why am I not, playing for India under 10s or something? But
Good
again,
thing was I always knew I was terrible. That was good. But I always felt like I could be a manager for the country, like if the manager or coach of football team and all. You know how we are as kids, man. But
Yeah,
as children, for sure, like when we're young, as you said, a lot of people do end up taking idols from sport, and it's very curious to me because sport is just one thing. It's just sport. Do you get me? It's one dimension. And when you look at
yeah,
most other idols, people like them for the various things, the various attributes. Like you look at Steve Jobs, you don't just like him because he created a technology company. You like him and how he created it. You like him for what he did for the world. You like him for his management tactics, right? That hundreds and hundreds of different ways and things in which he succeeded in it. That's why people idolize him. But it's really curious to look at it with sports people because sports people are essentially just good at one or two things. But when you ask, if I go out in the street right now and I ask people, who do you idolize? Who's your idol? 100%, I probably get like 70 to 80% of the responses be sports people. Why do you think that is?
mm, again, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but I perceive that people, especially when they're younger, they don't think of what sort of change are the idols bringing, right? Let's say, again, we have to go back to good old Cristiano Ronaldo as an example. We don't know that what his journey was in life specifically, or, to such an extent, where we understood why he's what he is, right? I think it's more about the journey that people, sometimes forget as they're younger, because they look up to Ronaldo because you see him doing a fancy skill move, or you see him score a good header or something like that, or even a bicycle kick nowadays. but um, but I think, yeah, once the brain is sort of immature, I think they just look up to the aesthetic that they offer rather than their experience or the struggles in their life. And once you grow older, this is again just my perception of things.
Uh,
Once you grow older, you sort of look into what was the journey of this person, right? What have they done in life and what has led them to be who they are, instead of what just who they are itself. So yeah, that's pretty much what I think.
I think maybe I am kind of speaking down about sport. It does have a lot of things that people do look up to. Maybe it's the competitive nature of sport, right? That shows a lot
Yeah,
of
for
people
sure.
how driven someone is. And as you said, the journey, maybe that contributes to it as well, when it comes to sports people. I think I'm not shouting at you for liking someone from sport. I just want to understand. So, comment down below if you do have, if you do idolize like a footballer or a sports person. Let me know why it's a sports person over other people, and let me know what features and what characteristics you kind of
Yeah.
associate with, which kind of make you idolize them. With that being said, Ishan, you say you didn't have any idols before, and you say that you have a long, arduous procedure to select who's your idol. What
Yeah.
about now?
Oh, interesting. Again, I'm gonna give like a different answer from what we've been discussing so far. But
Mhm.
you did mention something about parents being our role models or being idols. And again, for me personally, I just want to share that what I'm trying to pursue in life, or the subjects that I'm trying to pursue in life, is not what my parents have done, but my parents have supported me so much through whatever I've done till so far. I mean, I haven't achieved anything, breathtaking or anything
Nah,
that's,
nah, nah. Come on.
so significant. No, no, no. But seriously, I'm still 17 years old. I still have a long life left, and hopefully, and my, my parents have sort of again, it's a bit emotional for me, but I feel for everyone in some way the parents have inspired them to do something or be the change in the world from a young age. And obviously we've lived with the parents for all our lives, and they've been the constant support that in whatever you're doing, even if you're like playing a tree in a school play, they're still gonna support it, they're still gonna buy a costume or whatever. And even though it's not that significant, compared to what Ronaldo or Messi achieves, it's still something that's more closer to my heart, or something that, I can look up to. So again, it's a bit of a different answer. I don't know how you're gonna respond to it. What about you,
Nah,
mate?
nah.
What do you
It's beautiful. I think a lot of people won't look at that, and it really highlights the importance of having a good family. If you have a good family around you, good parents, good siblings, and all, you can really look up to them and work off them. I think for me too, parents uh, have definitely been some sort of idols in my life. I think that applies for most people who, who are in a healthy relationship. with their parents and a healthy relationship with their family. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're the only idols. I would say,
Hmm.
um,
Sure.
for me personally, right now, I don't really have an idol, but I do have a person who I look up to in a way. I look up to their art, I would say, because I don't know them as a person, right? And they're not very disclosed with what they are personally. It's a artist named Kendrick Lamar.
Oh.
He's a he's a songwriter. Well, he's a rapper technically,
Yeah.
but he's someone who's, well, if you listen to his music, you kind of understand because he's very different. He's the first ever rapper to win a Pulitzer Award. I think Pulitzer is the literature one. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And he's so different because he doesn't speak about. It will be hard to explain, but essentially, what I like about him, what I like the most about him, is his genuinity. He's such a genuine person, and it comes out in his music, and he's so profound in his thinking. Lot of music, it's like, oh, the lyrics is really good, that's why I enjoy the music. Or maybe you hear a song, you're like, oh, the beat's really good in this one. Kendrick Lamar, he's not a musician, but he's transcended that. He provides an experience with each song, at least for me. Like in every single song, every beat means something, literally. Every trumpet blaring, every xylophone hit, everything means something in the music. It means something about the message. And whether it's about music or whether it's about anything else that I do, I really aspire to be that level of. Uh, I want to achieve that level of high thinking. If I'm completely honest with you, that guy is, man, he's so good. So good, dude.
Sure, sure. That's lovely to hear. Again, if we sort of generalize it to, if you generalize it to musicians or rappers specifically, you look at the poetry and you're sort of like you're just intrigued by their choices or the way that they've done something. Like someone like Lil Pump is
Yeah,
who
bro.
I look
I
up
get.
to. Yep. All right. I think that we've had a decent discussion so far, and
Just hold on, hold on,
now
hold on.
again,
Anybody who is interested in rap or conscious music or conscious rap, do check out Kendrick Lamar. Like it, it kind of changed my life. I'll be honest, and it might change yours too. Just want to say that. Right, carry on, Ishan.
yeah, sure, sure, for sure. Um, yep. Our next segment is a little bit of a different approach from what we've normally be doing. It's a few hypothetical scenarios that we want to put out there, right? First one being it's like a question more. My first sort of question is, what role does age and experience play to be an idol?
Uh, I think they're two different things, to be honest. But obviously, they're two different things. That's why they're two
Yep.
different words. Well done. Sorry. I think experience is essential, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't idolize someone who's a novice to a certain field or certain something. Like, if I don't know, I wouldn't have idolized the Flipkart owner like 4 years ago or 5 years ago because I hadn't seen how he's proven himself, to be honest. So experience is something that's quite key to
Hmm.
me when it comes to idolizing someone or having an idol. Age, I feel I'm indifferent to it. Like obviously, if I like go right now to Python or something and make a trends chart, an X by Y graph, and plot age to percentage of idol voting, uh, you'll probably see that the older people are most of the time idolized more. But I don't think that means that age is essential. I can definitely idolize a young person. We've both mentioned young people that we idolize, and we can also idolize old people as we've mentioned. So I don't think age really plays. I think experience definitely does. What about you?
Very interesting. And again, I sort of agree with everything that I said. And with age, especially, I just want to put out a name of a person who I'll just say the name first. It's Shaurya Sinha. So if you want to check them out, he's on various social media platforms. You can check him out. And even with Aniket, I shared the profile of this guy like a few days ago, I believe. And he's someone who's just like a year or two older than how old I am. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, he's got the same amount of experience as someone who is 60 years old or 70 years old. But still, the fact that how young he is and how his mind is functioning different from other people who are of his age or even older in that sense is what sort of inspires me to look up to him. Because I mean, I don't really discriminate people in terms of how much experience they have. Even I understand that experience plays a huge role, but sometimes people just, they just look up to idols because they're successful. I'm the type of person to look up to maybe people who are not that successful as idols. I want to understand what mistakes did they make in the process. And people who are younger, right? When this is where age comes into the picture. If you're younger, you're more likely to make mistakes because you don't have the same amount of experience, right? It's like a fact, pretty much. That's why I think their journey is sort of more flavorful, or something better than someone who's just been perfect all throughout their life because of the various experiences they've been. Again, this is not like a conventional take on age and experience, but it's just my way of thinking.
I
Um,
think it's interesting, especially with the example you gave. I checked him out. I remember you sent it about a week or maybe 1.5 weeks ago.
yeah.
It's very interesting to see, such a young guy, but the amount of stuff he's done. Wow. But here's the thing. I'm going to throw hypothetical at you, all right? And you tell me how you'd react in this situation. Okay, say Ishan, right?
Okay.
The podcast, blows up after this episode, all right? We get 10 billion subscribers, all right? Hashtag one podcast on Earth, Mars, Venus, all right? Big things, all right? And you
Yeah.
become a big man, all right? Popular and technically an idol to some people for sure, right? Because of your work ethic and etc. etc.
Yep. Yep.
Now, you're an idol, okay? You're in the situation of success. How would you act? How would you conduct yourself knowing that you are an idol to a lot of people in the world and that any action you do could affect a huge number of people as well? How would you carry yourself in your life?
That's a lovely question. And first thing, again, a lot of us look up to being successful, but I don't think any of us look up to be idols. And that's a huge difference right there. Because if I were to just, be successful to, idolize others, I wouldn't be successful in the first place. That's just my way of thinking. But if I was that influential, I wouldn't really care. I mean, again, this is gonna sound super weird, but I wouldn't really care about what my actions do to other people, because at the end of the day, I'm looking at personal development, and this doesn't apply to me. This applies to everyone in the world. Their main aim in life should be to, develop as an individual and develop as someone who's done something in their own life rather than something that's affected others. And again, this is a very, 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 you know, um, controversial statement, because there are people who their way of thinking is to create a change in the way that society thinks. But I'm not against it. What I'm trying to say is, your for me, my priority is to look at what I'm doing in life, and am I doing something successful, or am I doing something wrong, or what are my actions based on my evaluation rather than other people, right? Because once I have like a base of people who idolize me, they're going to be commenting on each and everything I do, right? It's common with right now as well. If you look at TV stars, whatever actions they're doing, there's a lot of people who are just commenting on everything they do. They criticize them, etc., etc. But I don't really want to be influenced by what other people think of me. This is just my perception. I want to do something that satisfy my own needs and my own wants, and something that I think is right rather than something what everyone thinks is right. And
That's
I
cool.
don't know a
Like,
lot of controversy on this statement, but
no, no,
yeah,
no. See,
yeah, go on.
here's my thing, right? Like, okay, that's cool, right? You want to live your life, you want to live it for yourself. I get that. But at the end, you're not going to have a choice of what kind of people idolize you, right? You may have a choice on how they
Yeah,
idolize you, but that too to a very small extent because you can't control this large amount of people that I'm talking about, right? So there will be people who base their
exactly.
whole life on how you live your life, right? And if you just conduct yourself for
Sure.
yourself, then that almost means that you are not caring for that section of fans who do kind of live life exactly like how you live life. Like for example, Eminem stands, right? Eminem lived his life for
Yeah,
himself, and a lot of people followed in his way, and he didn't live a exactly healthy life for his young, kind of his youth, right? So a lot of people ended up going a wrong way in their life. So would you still keep that same opinion, knowing that there are such a large number of people you influence directly, and such a large number of people who would commit exactly what you do, and if you live your life and if you live it wrong at all, they could also do the same thing and mess up their whole lives. I guess what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is, if you are famous, wouldn't you have to also remember the fact that you are an idol to people and act all, uh, glory and, you know, act kind of artificial and perfect because you know so many people life depends on it? Wouldn't you have to?
Oh wow, that's surely an intriguing question. And again, my take on this would be I don't believe anyone, I mean, you would agree with me for sure that nobody can live a perfect life, right? Because there will be some phases in your life where you could have done things much better. There would have been downfalls in your life. And again, I keep repeating this, but the downfall is what makes you stronger. And the more, not the more, but how you deal with, the downfall or the recession in your life is what sort of reflects on you as a person. And if I have, a bunch of people following me, I wouldn't look up to, behave perfect to, keep this idol status or whatever. But I would, again, it's very hard for me to, pen it down because I don't like, I can't imagine being, someone like an idol for many people. But if I were to be an idol, I wouldn't say that my life is perfect and you should look up to me or something like that. But my thing would be just carry on with my own grind, and if people like what I'm doing, sure, you can appreciate me, you can look up to me, whatever. I have nothing against it. But the thing that I really dislike about this modern day stuff, right? A lot of criticism comes into picture as to whatever you're doing, right? Let's say, okay, I'm going to give you guys a very intriguing example. MS Dhoni, right? He
Big man.
was a World Cup winning. He's a World Cup winning captain, and in the recent IPL games, he just couldn't perform because of various reasons. Like his squad is not that good. A lot of players haven't been there. There's a lot of reasons why he's not able to perform as to speak. And I see a lot of people just criticizing Dhoni because he wasn't able to play one IPL match, and they forget what he's achieved in his own life. He's won every single ICC trophy possible. And again, MS Dhoni is also like a huge idol for a lot of people. But again, the criticism part is what I really dislike. And again, I don't want to be that much of an influencer because the criticism is hard to take, right? If anybody criticizes you, it's you're not gonna, come out positive from it. So that's something that I really don't want to do in my life, if that makes sense. What do you think?
Well, I think that the fan should make this hypothetical real, right, and get us a billion subscribers by next week so that we can live this. Right? Realistically, that's the only thing we can do, right, guys? Lana, but I think I agree with what you say, but also not agree. I think when you are in such a high position, you have to consider the fact that there are people who will stand you, right? I hope everybody's familiar with the word stand and what it means. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
And you do have to live your life according to them to some extent because there are people's lives at stakes, right? Like those Cristiano Ronaldo followers who would like die for him. Those Emmy Bantai followers who die for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I think you have to consider it at the end of the day. And you're talking about social media. You're talking about canceling and all. You're talking about MS Dhoni. By the way, if you criticize MS Dhoni, you didn't watch the 2011 World Cup, all right? I mean, you have to be. What are these
You
guys?
don't watch
Anyway,
cricket, bro. You don't watch
exactly. You don't watch
cricket
cricket.
if
You
you
don't
are
watch cricket.
criticizing someone like that.
Aside from that, before I get triggered on that, what would you do, especially in this age where everybody's done everything bad? If one of your, or I think better way to phrase this is, if your idol makes a severe mistake, like a Logan Paul severe mistake, right? Do you stop idolizing them, or do you look for the comeback? The comeback story, the underdog story. What would you do?
Yep. Again, if you guys heard the podcast throughout, you would know that I've talked a lot about the downfall, and that's exactly. I mean, again, severe mistake is like a huge thing, right? The severe mistake could be anything and could have an impact in many different ways. But depending on what the mistake actually is. Like, if you're doing something that's, caused like really bad things, I don't want to like say it explicitly because I don't want to,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah,
you can imagine, right? If someone does that level of a mistake, I don't think that I'm sure that a lot of people will stop idolizing them for sure, because again, it sort of becomes disrespectful in a way for your profile, right? If you
yeah, yeah,
talk to someone and say, I look up to this guy, they'll instantly think of the worst thing that they did in their life. And they sort of judge you based on your choices, that you've chosen this guy who's done so many wrong things. So again, there needs to be a clear line as to what the severe mistake must be. But most of the times, I can I wouldn't stop idolizing someone for if it's like a small mistake, or if it's like one big mistake, for example. I wouldn't say that that would stop me completely like idolizing them at all. But again, it depends a lot on a few things. So not really sure about that. What do you think? Have anything to say about that?
Uh, well, of course, as you said, and very important to remember, depends on how severe the mistake is. Severe, the word is not a number, right? So you can interpret it
Yeah.
that any way you want to. But I think downfall maketh a man, in my opinion. And the comeback for some people has been so sweet that
Hmm.
it makes the idolizing experience and your ability and what you do with that idolizing and with that aspiring a lot better as well. Of course, if it's a really bad thing that they've done, and everybody knows what bad thing we're talking about, I don't want to mention them because you know the culture we live in, it will be taken out of context.
Hmm.
All right. But
Yep.
if it's a
Yep.
really bad thing, all right, it's probably correct to not idolize them. But if it's not that bad, or if it's found out to be wrong, because of course we live in an age where you're guilty before proven innocent, right? Instead of the other way
Yeah.
around. Uh, I feel that comeback is so important. I mean, I talk about Logan Paul. Look at Logan Paul. All right, he did a
Hmm.
terrible thing. All right, but he came back from it like nobody ever came back. He made what one of the top 20 or top 10 US podcasts in the world. His channel has been blowing up recently. It's got like about 25 million subscribers or something. He had two
He had
boxing
two
matches.
fights.
Yeah,
Exactly,
exactly.
exactly.
Made some music, and he's currently in beef with the NFL star. Like that's so big.
Hmm.
So you know he's come back so much. Look at XXX Tentacion. He was wrongly accused for some terrible, heinous acts. All right, um, which he did to females, and it really put a sour taste in many people's mouth, as it should do, about who this person was and should we continue idolizing him or listening to his music. But then he, first of all, he showed that it was a wrongful conviction and how he didn't do all of that. Then he went on and he destroyed the music field before he passed away. RIP XXX. You know, we hope that you're doing well up there. But before he passed away, he was storming through the music field. In fact, if he had lived, I think he would have become a top five artist right now. I don't know. Some people don't like him obviously for his music, but that's what I'm talking about. The comeback is really sweet, and it does help to continue idolizing. At least for me.
Yeah, well, with that, I guess we can wrap up today's episode. Thanks a lot for watching or listening to us pointlessly talk about idols. But we really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments who is your idol, or any of the questions that we've discussed so far. And we really appreciate the support, guys. Keep it up, and let's see you guys next Sunday. Anything you want to say, Aniket, before we leave?
Yeah, sure. I think check out the socials in the link below and in the links everywhere. Please subscribe, like, and comment and all of that. And also, if you want any changes on the podcast and if you want to change the format of the podcast, please let us know in the comments or by any of the DMs or WhatsApp or
Yep.
anything. We are very willing to change to your needs. With that, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and peace.